For today's video, I want to cover BlackBerry Stock because last week they reported their Q2 earnings for fiscal year 2025. I more predominantly want to go over the conference call in terms of points and share my thoughts. I did go over the numbers during my live stream, and I'm going to do them quickly here as well. But if you want to be notified in the future dates when I do live stream or upload videos for BlackBerry Stock, consider following and subscribing. For example, on Wednesday, October 16th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m., I will be live streaming the BlackBerry Investor Day for 2024. So again, if you want to be notified, consider following and subscribing. Plus, I have two videos for the pipeline coming out. One's going to be coming out tomorrow in terms of what to expect for Q3 earnings that will be reported in December of 2024. And the next one's going to be a little bit of evaluation for the company. For example, BlackBerry is sitting at $1.37 billion right now as of October 3rd, 2024. I think, in my opinion, that's relatively low for a cybersecurity company. We want to do some comparisons and all that stuff. So if you're interested, consider following and subscribing so you'll be notified when I do. And if you find the video beneficial towards the end, consider dropping a like. It does help the channel, so thank you so much for that. I do appreciate it. Now, to quickly go over the numbers, again, I did go over them earlier, and given that it was last week, I'm sure most of you guys went over the numbers. If you want to pull up the numbers, just go to BlackBerry Investor Relations website, scroll down to the financial reports, and you could pull up past earnings reports plus current earnings. And again, this is the Q2 earnings. But in terms of street estimates for this Q2 earnings, it came in at somewhere about 141 to 142 million for this quarter. Forecast previously that BlackBerry gave was around 136 to 144 million for total company revenue. We ended up beating the street estimates and beating the BlackBerry guidance that they provided. Total company revenue came in at 145 million. Last quarter, it came in at 144 million for Q1 earnings. Last year's Q2 earnings came in at 132 million, I believe. Yeah, 132 million, September 28, 2023. So we have quarter over quarter growth, year over year growth, beat street estimates, beat forecast. So that's awesome. Now, in terms of the IoT and cybersecurity, both had quarter over quarter growth and year over year growth, which is awesome. IoT revenue grew 12% year over year and exceeded previously provided guidance at 55 million. So they got 55 million for IoT revenue, and for cybersecurity revenue, it grew 10% year over year and exceeded previously provided guidance at 87 million. So pretty awesome stuff. Now, in terms of the losses, in terms of profit and losses, basically they are reducing their cost and then they're getting closer to being cash flow positive. Right now for this quarter, they reported about $18 million in losses, which is not ideal. Obviously, we want to get it to profits as soon as possible, but we do see progress. For example, this is for Q1 of last quarter, and their losses was about 32 million, I believe. I'm going to scroll right about here. So they reported 34 million. So 34 million last quarter, and then last year was about 44 or 40 million. So just to double check again, September 28, 2023. If I scroll down right about here, their losses was about 30 or 40 million. So 40 million last year is for the same quarter, and then 34 million for last quarter, and then 18 million this time around. Now, there's a couple points that they went over the conference call, which I'm going to go, basically saying cash flow positive by Q4, which will be reported in March, April of next year, 2025, but I'll go over those points as well. So not bad earnings, in my opinion. I think it was good earnings. The only thing is, though, in terms of the market, what you could expect is they want to see revenue growth to start being substantial over time, not just constantly being flat. And then, yeah, they'll be cash flow positive, just constantly cutting costs, but at a certain point, we want to see revenue climb substantially. Now, in terms of also the guidance that they provided for full fiscal year 2025, they did readjust it on the bottom end. They put it at 591 to 616 million for total company revenue. And that's not necessarily, it's great that they updated the bottom end, but it's not much of an adjustment overall because it's just pretty much the same thing. So previously for Q1, last quarter, they provided guidance for a fiscal year of 2025, somewhere between 586 million to 616 million. Again, top end not adjusted, the bottom end did get adjusted. Basically, market wants to see massive revenues over time, which will affect market cap, but at the same time, obviously, you want to be cash flow positive, not just constantly losing. The one benefit is, you could argue, is since they've lost so much money in the past, constantly reporting losses, quarter over quarter nonstop, is technically they build like a tax basket in a way. Basically, once they start getting cash flow positive, then they won't really be taxed on it because they could report it against their losses previously, quarters and years and all that stuff. So there is a benefit to that. Now, in terms of the points for the conference call, the most important points that I saw was they went over design wins. And basically, remember that design wins tend to be long-term contracts for BlackBerry. They tend to be about 10-year contracts, which is awesome. And then in terms of Ivy update, this wasn't ideal in my opinion. Auto headwinds, they stated that auto headwinds are slowing down the adaptation of Ivy. Proof of concept still happening and working on a potential. They're working on potential opportunities, but unlikely to see material revenue in the near term, which is unfortunate. And then Ivy mixed in the QNX team currently as well, or moving to be mixed in with the QNX team. And then they touch base on it in terms of Q&A. The downfall is, personally, I was banking on Ivy to be the breadwinner of the company, and it still could be. It's not like it's shut down. It's just the adaptation taking so long. And I understand in terms of the development of the automotive industry, but it's unfortunate because the cybersecurity side is slowly growing. That's one downfall. They could ramp it up, and that's why I want to make it like not the next video, but the third video, talk about the cybersecurity side, because honestly, they should grow that substantially, especially a little bit of tidbit, basically, and I'm going to go over it, I guess. They bought Cylance back in February of 2019 for $1.4 billion, right? And looking at the market cap of the company, at 1.37 billion, it's kind of disheartening, right? If you think about it, because they bought a company for 1.4 billion, and then this company right now, based off market cap, is less than that. So it's definitely not ideal, right? Now, you could argue though, in terms of Ivy, the IoT portion of the business, which is BlackBerry's in two divisions, right? We got the IoT division and the cybersecurity division. For the IoT division, it is growing, so that is good. It's not like we need to bank on Ivy 100%. But again, I was expecting that to be the breadwinner based off what is, there's potential for the Ivy portion, like, right? So there's that. Now, the backlog for QNX, which is part of IoT and all stuff, is growing and currently at 815 million. So again, there is growth in the company, just unfortunate that basically it's going to take longer for Ivy, and we don't know how much longer, right? And then it being mixed into the QNX, they did that for cost cutting, which I'll go over in the Q&A that they also went through. Now, for cybersecurity Cylance revenue, they saw year-over-year decline for just the software side alone, which is also disheartening. Like I stated, they basically bought that company for $1.4 billion back in February of 2019. So, and it was at that time, it was pretty much a direct competitor with CrowdStrike in essence. The reason why I'm stating that is because the CEO of CrowdStrike and Cylance were constantly like butting heads and trying to see who's like the best kind of thing. So that is a downfall that software side is pretty much seeing a year-over-year decline. But then they said it got balanced out in terms of losses and profits based off of the managed service side seem to be doing it okay and increasing. So again, the managed service side for the cybersecurity for Cylance was seeing an increase. And then also Tim, CFO BlackBerry, came in and communicating his commitment to increasing shareholders' value. And he said, in his opinion, the company is undervalued. He's stated that a bunch of times. I will say the company has, in previous management, stated that multiple times, and we didn't see anything bear fruit. But the way Tim's saying it, all stuff, and the way the company's moving in terms of progressing and delivering essentially on their promises, right? Everything they've been saying that they're going to be doing, they've pretty much been meeting those time frames, plus meeting the commitments. So him saying that, plus the way he's saying it, plus he's new to the CFO position, I think it actually will come to fruition. Question is how long. Obviously, BlackBerry holders are tired of holding the share price in terms of stock, but it seems like they're moving in the right direction. I'm kind of optimistic. But again, quick thing though, like always, I do own shares in the company, so please do own due diligence and research before buying and selling, and be aware of that while watching this video, that I do own shares in the company. And I'm not a professional, so again, please do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. Now, cash usage is improving. As we're seeing, basically what I showed earlier, they reported $18 million in losses for this quarter versus previous quarters and all that stuff. There is improvement. And then they're expecting to be cash flow positive in Q4. Again, that will be in March, April timeframe of 2025 reported, and then should be cash flow positive, hopefully. And again, they're delivering on their promises, so I'm expecting that to be the case. And in case if you haven't seen my past videos, currently the stock price is at $2.32 US. I think anything to under $2.50 is, again, in my opinion, and I do own shares in the company, is a fair price for entering, because I'm expecting by June, July of next year, which they made a statement in one of the calls that you'll be happy to own the share or the company in June, July of 2025. So that would be a quarter after the cash flow positive quarter. And if that's the case, I'm expecting the share price to be, in terms of the conservative side, in terms of numbers, somewhere between $3.50 to $4. And that's more the conservative side. I am optimistic for a company. I'm expecting it to be higher, but again, that's more the conservative side, and we see slow growth and all that stuff. So that's basically somewhere between, let's say, 45 to 55% return in just less than a year of holding. But again, be mindful that I own shares in the company. Plus, I'm not a professional, so please do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. Now, in terms of the Q&A side, Ivy they were asked about Ivy, and they stated that Ivy had a dedicated team, but now they are lowering costs with merging it with the QNX team where possible. I think that's a good idea. It's not bad. And in terms of the partnership with Amazon, because Ivy, in case you're new to the channel and unaware what BlackBerry Ivy is, it's essentially an operating system for the vehicles and based on like cloud services and all stuff mixed in partnership with Amazon. I just gave a high level explanation, but essentially from that partnership, it's a 50-50. And I don't know how the back end works in terms of the cost side, but I'm sure they're somewhat delegating the cost a little bit. And they could lower the cost, mixing in with the QNX team. I think that's fine. Now, on another thing that they mentioned was on October 16th, Investor Day, they'll cover division profitability because they were asked about division profitability, and they'll cover that on Investor Day on October 16th. And then they said that they will cover their portfolio outlook on that day too. So again, I will be live streaming that. So consider following and subscribing to be notified when I do. And then they said they'll provide outlook for 26 and 27 calendar year. But that's basically it in terms of the conference call, in terms of the most important points, in terms of my thoughts. The earnings was good. It's just, I would say, maybe revenue, essentially, it's not necessarily flat because again, we're seeing year-over-year growth, quarter-over-quarter growth. It's just the market essentially wants to see way more profits overall. And in terms of the total year revenue that's coming in, you could argue it's still on the low side for a company like this that should be higher based off having cybersecurity division and IoT division, which are technically heavy hitters. For example, like one of the companies I'm looking at, actually, I'll say that for another video because then I'd have to go on a tangent, unfortunately. But that's basically it for today's video. If you have any questions, drop them down below. I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. Thanks again for watching. If you did find the video beneficial, consider dropping a like. It does help the channel, so thank you so much for that. I do appreciate it. And if you want to be notified when I upload my next video and all stuff, consider following, subscribing. Thanks again for watching. Take care. God bless and peace.